What's good, YouTube? Welcome to another episode of Talking Sports with Manny podcast. So, man, we're gonna talk dynasty. We're gonna talk redraft. We're gonna talk IDP. We're gonna talk all kinds of strategy when it comes to fantasy football, and hopefully, these nuggets can definitely help you guys win fantasy championships this year. If you are new to the Talking Sports with Manny YouTube channel, please like, please subscribe, please share, and in the comment section, I definitely want to hear what you guys feel about what I say, and let me know what your favorite strategy is when it comes to fantasy football. So let's go ahead and start with the zero quarterback strategy. This is a strategy that I've used often, especially in fantasy startups. You have these fantasy startups, right? My strategy is simple: get the best talent available and try to get the quarterbacks late. I know in Superflex, everybody wants to go ahead and get the quarterbacks of the future right away. Like I just did a Superflex startup recently, and I had pick 101. Obviously, there's only one pick to make it 101, and I chose Christian McCaffrey. But that's just me. That's just kind of how I operate. I think Christian McCaffrey is an elite PPR running back, and he's going to be elite for the next 3 to 4 years, maybe five if I'm lucky. He's still young enough. So what I did was I took CMC, and then the guy that drafted right after me took Patrick Mahomes. I get that. He could have went Dalvin Cook. He could have gone, a running back or even a wide receiver. He could have went Tyreek Hill at the 102. But I get it. Some people just want to get that quarterback, and Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. He's going to be the best quarterback for a while. But then you still have quarterbacks like Jonathan Allen that you can grab a little later. So I prefer the zero quarterback rule. I'm going to pull up my screen in a minute and kind of share my strategy, what works for me. But I love doing these startups, and I love going with the zero quarterback. Now, a lot of times my quarterbacks do end up pretty terrible, but the core of my team, like my starters, are solid. Okay, so I'm going to share two leagues with you guys that I've done, and I've done the zero quarterback strategy, and it all depends on where I'm drafting from. If I'm drafting 101, I get Christian McCaffrey every single time. Now, if I'm drafting, let's say 9 to 12, then I can go quarterback back to back, or a running back quarterback, or a wide receiver quarterback. That's kind of where I would get my quarterbacks is at the end of the first round, not the beginning. That's just me. Everybody has their own way of playing. So I'm going to show you guys two of my squads, and then for me, I'm more so going quarterback the next year. So I'm going to play the waiver wire. I'm going to snag. Quarterbacks always get injured. So that next quarterback that gets injured, if it's a league that's playing with Fab, I'm throwing a bunch of Fab. If I have 200, I'm throwing at least 100 to get my quarterback. I did it last year, and I was able to get Andy Dalton. Yeah, Andy Dalton wasn't really much, but guess what? He was a starter, and in that league, quarterback play is souped up. So you get a lot of points for the quarterback position. So I'm going to share my screen. Let me pull up the first league that I tried this strategy on. You guys kind of let me know what you guys feel about my team. All right. Let me know if it's a trash strategy. Let me know if it's a good strategy. Let me know if it's something that you're willing to try. So in this league, I believe I had the 101, and I took Christian McCaffrey. I also moved up into the draft. So here's my team right here: Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Michael Thomas, who I believe in this year. A lot of people don't believe in Michael Thomas. Also took Tariq Hill, Stephon Diggs. This is a tight end premium league too, so people were going tight ends super early. I took Logan Thomas like in the middle to late portion of the draft. I took Julio Jones because even though he's old, he's going to give you top. He's going to be a wide receiver one if he's healthy. I understand he might get traded. I get all of that, but it was a chance I was willing to take. So I took him right here. I love the value that I got for Julio Jones. It was like late in the draft. And mind you, this league right here has 1, 2, 3, 4 flex spots. So you got to make sure that you're solid in every single position. Like so I took Julio Jones, I took Kenny Galladay, and this draft was done before free agency. I was thinking that Kenny Galladay would go to a better situation. He's there with the Giants. I'm not feeling Kenny Galladay at all with the Giants, but it just is what it is. Adam Thielen, I took him. I took Melvin Gordon before the draft. Now with the whole Javonte Williams thing. It's kind of like, whatever. But at least I'm gonna get at least another good 1 year or two out of Melvin Gordon. I mean, when I show you guys some of the other teams in the league, you'll kind of understand where my team ranks compared to some of these other teams. Andy Dalton, yes, my quarterbacks do suck. It was Garoppolo. This was Andy Dalton, Teddy Bridgewater. Those are the three guys that I drafted. Now, mind you guys, this draft was done before the NFL draft. So this is super early. You're kind of guessing. I was hoping that Teddy Bridgewater had a role this year. I was hoping that Andy Dalton would be starting somewhere this year. And I was hoping that, really, Teddy Bridgewater and Garoppolo was the guys that I took. Andy Dalton was the guy that I took later on. But as you guys can see, I went and filled up all of my spots. And I believe I traded up to grab a Stephon Diggs. So my first four picks were Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Tariq Hill, Stephon Diggs. And later on, picked up Michael Thomas and Kenny Galladay. Then I took, I even took other guys like, what's his name? Jarvis Landry. I have T.Y. Hilton. Now, this is a tight end premium league. I took my tight ends pretty late. I was able to get Logan Thomas late in the draft. I mean, Washington did nothing to improve the tight end room. So I win there, at least for this year. I was able to pick up guys like Jeff Wilson, but the draft changed everything. Williams, what's his name? David Johnson was good at the time, but Philip Lindsay ruined everything for me. Now I want more Philip Lindsay shares. Dan Arnold, Frickser, some of the guys I picked up via free agency, Conklin. So you can kind of see that the rest of my team, I kind of filled it up with tight ends because tight ends do get 2 points per reception. So you can kind of see why I had to go with so many tight ends to then see who really pops off. So that's one of my teams. Let me show you guys another one of my teams. Just kind of let me know what you feel about this strategy. This league is called the Fireflex. You guys can see I'm in a bunch of leagues. So this Fireflex league looks very similar to my other team, right? You see Christian McCaffrey, 101. You see Derrick Henry. I got him like 109. Then you see Tariq Hill. I took him in the second round, which was, I think, 201. Then Stephon Diggs, I took him like maybe in the third round. So as you guys can see, man, my teams pretty much look the same. Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Tariq Hill, Stephon Diggs. Those are my first four picks. And I traded up to make sure I had four really high picks. I had two first rounders. I don't believe I had a second rounder. I had two first rounders, a second rounder, and a third. So yeah, I was able to get Stephon Diggs in the third round. And that was kind of how I built my team. Or even if I didn't have two first rounders, I might have had two second rounders. Either way it goes, I had four picks in the top three rounds. And this is a startup, right? Like I said, I took Christian McCaffrey. Then the next guy took Patrick Mahomes. Then they went on a quarterback run. So I'm like, okay, cool. If you're going to go on a quarterback run, I'm going to go on a running back run. I was trying to get Nick Chubb or Dalvin Cook or Kamara, but Kamara went right before Derrick Henry. So I took Derrick Henry. I still think Derrick Henry has some elite years left, at least three. A lot of guys are saying sell Derrick Henry. I'm like, I'm buying Derrick Henry. But either way it goes. So then with my sixth round pick, which was like my very next pick, after picking those top four picks, I didn't get another pick until the sixth round. I took TJ Hawkinson. He's a tight end that you can build with in a startup. I think he's going to be a stud tight end. He's going to be a top three tight end for years to come, especially with, Kelsey getting older. Kittle's going to get older. You're going to have the Pitts and the Hawkinsons of the world, come up. And even a guy like Waller, too, So took Hawkinson. Then later on in the draft, I took Lockett, and then I took Thielen. One thing I always try to do is I try to make sure that my starting core is solid before I look at my bench. Yes, I could have had, maybe two decent backup running backs to back up Christian McCaffrey and Henry, but I chose to go ahead and get two wide receivers that are wide receiver twos on their team, possibly wide receiver ones, just depending on production. So I took a Tyler Lockett, I took a Thielen, and that's kind of how I really built my team. Then the quarterbacks are still terrible. I took Ben Roethlisberger for 1 year. I took a Garoppolo for 1 year, or for however many weeks he starts. But I made sure I got a Mason Rudolph to, back up Roethlisberger just in case he gets hurt. Everybody's saying Haskins. Haskins is not the backup. It's Rudolph. I took Kyle Allen later on, outside the draft. Free agency. I think he's the QB2 in Washington. It's not Heineke, it's Allen. Then I made sure to get a Jordan Love. So don't think because I'm doing a zero quarterback rule that I'm just kind of like acting crazy. I was still able to snag a quarterback for the future, Jordan Love, especially if Aaron Rodgers leaves this year, that solidifies me there. And I also took a Tyrod Taylor just in case the stuff happened in Houston. Marlon Mack is my guy. Look, I'm a Marlon Mack guy, and I think he's going to blow up this year. Even next year when he moves on to his new team, there's value for Marlon Mack. Also, Philip Lindsay, another guy that I'm big on this year. I'm gonna do a whole other video kind of telling you guys what running backs to grab that nobody's really looking at. But those are two of the running backs on my list that nobody's looking at that I'm grabbing. So I kind of just filled out my team with just handcuffs, Ty Johnson, Jamar Jefferson, T.Y. Hilton, Russell Gage. I stole him in a draft, especially if Julio Jones does get traded. This is a key commodity. I'm going to be doing another video with wide receivers that you guys should grab. So if you're looking at my roster, you're kind of seeing the kind of guys that I'm grabbing. And then because I had Hockenson, I went on and picked up O.J. Howard, Gronkowski, and Everett just to kind of round up my team. There's going to be wide receivers, quarterbacks that get hurt. That's where I get my quarterback. So, guys, out of these two squads, you guys have seen how I've built my team. Let me know in the comment section if you guys like this zero quarterback rule in terms of startups. Now, I'm doing a whole nother startup, a whole nother league, and I'm going to try this strategy one more time, but this time is a little different for the simple fact that I'm picking number 9. So if I'm picking number 9, I'm probably looking at like a Tyreek Hill. He seems to be a name that, falls. But if I can get a franchise running back at 9, I'm doing it. And then maybe with my second pick, that swing around, might get a quarterback if an elite quarterback is there. But I can also try the strategy, maybe go quarterback in the 5th and 6th round to kind of see what I grab. It's a startup, so that means guys like Trevor Lawrence is going to be around. But what happens with these startups that's mixed up with rookies is that these rookies get overvalued and they go pretty fast. So that's my strategy for Superflex startup. Now, if we're talking redraft, right? My strategy for redraft is pretty simple. If I'm picking number 1, I'm getting a stud back, right? If I'm picking in the top 3, I'm picking a stud back. And what happened to me last year a lot was I was able to get a Christian McCaffrey or a Barkley, even though Barkley got hurt. I'm pretty much done with Barkley now. I can't really have him on my team again unless if he falls to me in the second round. So I'm just done with Barkley. So my strategy is when I take a Christian McCaffrey, that second round, I got a Travis Kelce every single time because nobody wanted to take a Travis Kelce that high because he's a tight end, but I didn't care. So every league that I did last year, when I drafted in the first 5, I picked Christian McCaffrey or Kamara. I got Kamara at 5 a lot. So give me my stud back, and then I always came back around and grabbed that tight end. That Alvin Kamara and Kelce stack back-to-back in the first and second round won me a lot of leagues. Because what that did was I had the number 1 running back, I had the number 1 tight end, and then in the one league, I think I was able to get a Josh Allen before he blew up. I knew that he was going to, be a guy that would get a lot of rushing yards and a lot of rushing work. I didn't know that he would become a complete passer. So in some of those leagues, I had Josh Allen. Some of those leagues, I was getting guys like Allen Robinson or Terry McLaurin in the 4th. So I really had great success in drafting last year, just based off of strategy. It's based off of where I land in redraft that determines what I do. Now, if I'm in redraft and if I'm in the PPR league and I'm picking, 12, that means at that point, all the stud running backs are gone. So I usually go wide receiver. Then maybe in the 3rd round, get a tight end or wide receiver, and then go with the zero running back rule. So let me talk to you guys about the zero running back rule. That's a rule that I've tried in several leagues, and sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. So usually I'll go ahead and get me a guy like a Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill. I'm just saying, I know last year that couldn't happen because both guys were studs, but the year before I was able to do stuff like that. So let's say this year, when you come back down, right? So let's say let's say Devontae Adams falls to 12 just because there's running backs going like crazy, right? So I'll take a Devontae Adams or a Tyreek Hill or whoever, right? Then with that next pick, I might go Calvin Ridley. I might go DeAndre Hopkins. And this is redraft, so we're not talking about dynasty or anything like that. So I will take 2 stud wide receivers that I feel can finish in the top 5 or even in the top 12, right? Then when it comes back to that 3rd round pick, I'm looking at the best running back. If I see a guy that fits the mold of what I like to do in terms of a PPR, right? I did that 1 year, and I was able to end up with an Austin Eckler. So the zero running back rule works when you get the perfect PPR backs. Did it last year, and I was able to get a JD McKissick from free agency. So that zero running back rule, it works, but you got to get a stud tight end. Get your two stud wide receivers first. That third round, try to get you a tight end. Sometimes you get lucky. 1 year, I was able to get Darren Waller in the 6th round. It happens because when you're in these leagues that's super flex, a good tight end is going to fall for you. So it's just all about strategy. It's just all about seeing what you want to do. So the last strategy I want to talk about is so I've talked about the zero quarterback. I've talked about the zero running back. I want to talk about the running back rich rule. So in redraft, you can go 5 straight running backs, right? If you're like in a league where you know it's tough to grab running backs, especially if you're drafted in the middle of the rounds, like 6 or 7 or 8, you can grab a running back, right? Come back again, grab another one, then just one more for good measures. Or maybe you know about a rookie that's blowing up, or that's gonna blow up, or that's a stud. Because a lot of times in redraft, people don't really mess with running backs, you know. So every year I get a rookie running back in the 4th round. You know, I remember Barkley's rookie year, I got him like at pick 8, then came back around and got Christian McCaffrey in the 2nd round. Then the year after that, even when the Christian McCaffrey came into the league, I was able to grab him in, late. The years for even the most recent last year, Jonathan Taylor, I was able to get the Jonathan Taylors of the world in the 4th round. Josh Jacobs, the year before then, I was able to get him in the 4th round. So the 4th round seems to be a sweet spot to grab some of these rookie running backs. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he kind of rose last year only because Williams opted out, so his stock went up. So usually I get my rookie running backs in the 4th round, especially if I'm doing that zero running back rule. I'm able to go ahead and grab my rookies that I believe in, and they come in and they step in for me. So there's so many different strategies. I just want to get on here and just talk about a few. Guys, if you guys are new to the page, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're listening on audio version, please be sure to subscribe to Apple, Spotify. I'm everywhere. I appreciate the love. God bless. You guys have a safe one. I'm out.